Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller. Love it or hate it, you can't argue that it isn't a classic. Released in 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of many popular John Hughes films from the 1980s, and is actor Matthew Broderick's most iconic role. While I know this is obviously just a movie, I've always wondered one thing. Could Ferris have actually pulled off all these activities and make it home in time without getting caught? Well, using GPS maps and making a few assumptions along the way. Let's find out. Let's kick this thing off from the moment Ferris and Cameron pick up Sloane at the school. When all is said and done, getting the Ferrari, going to Cameron's, Ferris and Cameron pick up Sloane, I'm going to say at 9:30 a.m. They then journey 23 miles from the school at 2300 Shermer Road to the garage located at West Madison Street at Wells Street. The address 189 West Madison puts us practically right in front of it. This is a 31-minute drive. We'll say there's no traffic because everybody's already in work. So handing the car off at 10 a.m. isn't out of the question. With the gang now on foot, they then walk from the garage to the Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower, at 233 South Wacker Drive. The walk is only 7 minutes long. Between the walk, possibly waiting in line a little bit, getting to the top, and hanging out for a little while, let's just say it took an hour in total, from 10 to 11 a.m. Once they leave the tower, they're still on foot, this time to the Board of Trade. It's a 6-minute walk to 141 West Jackson Boulevard. I'm going to say they hang out here till about 11:45 before they decide to go get lunch. After the Board of Trade, it's off for some lunch at Chez Cuit. So the interior of this French restaurant was actually filmed in Los Angeles. The exterior is actually a private residence in Chicago. Since the film obviously takes place in Chicago, we're going with that address. At 22 West Schiller Street. It's 2.3 miles from the Board of Trade. This says it's a 13-minute ride. This pretty much puts them in the door at noon, just like the movie. So far, I actually have this working. We're on track. Let's recap. Sloane picked up at 9:30. Car dropped off at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Willis Tower. Board of Trade from 11:06-ish to 11:45. And lunch at Chez Cuit, noon. I'm going to say they spent only an hour in here. Now, I know you're thinking, it's a busy work day. I'm sure it would take a while. But remember, with the hostess feeling like an idiot thinking he offended the Sausage King of Chicago, you can bet service was probably very quick. While at the same time, the trio probably ate just as quickly, in case the real Abe Froman showed up. After leaving the restaurant, it's time to hop in a cab and check out a ball game at Wrigley Field. It's a 13-minute ride from Chez Cuit to the stadium, located at 1060 West Addison Street. I'm ignoring the potential for a lot of traffic in this experiment, but this is one case where I definitely feel like I can't. So we'll say the cab dropped them off within walking distance, and they arrived at the stadium in 30 minutes, rather than the 13. With Wrigley Day games starting around 1:20, 1:30, this still puts them there relatively at the start of the game. However, from this point on, we need to start cutting some corners. There is no possible way they could have sat through this entire game if Ferris wants to get home without getting caught. I'm going to say they left around 3 p.m. because Sloane hates baseball and wanted to check out something with a little more culture, like a museum. This is a 6.5-mile, 15-minute drive from Wrigley Field to the Art Institute of Chicago at 111 South Michigan Ave. You know the scene. They stare at some paintings, they walk around and hold hands with some little kids, which now that I think about it is kind of weird. They stand like they're posing for an Instagram photo even before social media even exists, and I have no idea who would be taking this photo to begin with. I'm going to say they spent a good half hour here, from 3:15 to 3:45, before Ferris ditches them and runs off where Sloane and Cameron have to try to go find him. After about an 8-minute walk from the Art Institute to the corner of Dearborn and Monroe, they encounter Ferris on the float. All right, relax there, Pee-wee. So much for keeping a low profile when everyone thinks you're dying, right? This parade is a real parade and takes place yearly in Chicago going down Dearborn Street. They just recreated it on the weekend with some extras. This is where we're also going to need to cut a little corner and speculate that Ferris only does these 2 songs, Doc Shane and Twist and Shout, and he doesn't follow the entire rest of the parade route. He bails after those 2 songs. I'm not sure why the police haven't yanked him down. I mean, well, whatever. He's Ferris Bueller, right? So the interesting thing is, they encountered Ferris around here. Even if Ferris made it this far down after 2 songs, it's still only an 8-minute walk Back to the Garage where the Ferrari is. And those two songs aren't long either. Even combined, it's not like it's Stairway to Heaven.
No stairway. Denied.
I'm just going to say they picked up the car around 4:15. Cameron freaks the hell out. They end up on the beach by the coast, where Cameron is completely catatonic. It's about a half-hour drive from the garage to the beach. We'll say they just stop here for a good 5 minutes. From the beach, it's then off to the pool. But Cameron's residence in Chicago is at 370 Beach Street, Highland Park, making this an 11-minute drive from the beach. We'll just say 15 minutes to keep this simple. We really have no idea whose residence this is supposed to be. This scene was shot in California. But I think we can assume this is supposed to be Cameron's house, not Sloane's. Since Cameron still has to destroy the car, it wouldn't make much sense to go to Sloane's, then to go to Cameron's, then back to Sloane's again. For Ferris to say goodbye to her and then run off. After that quick dip in the pool, Cameron kills the car a little after 6. And that's where we officially run out of time, people. Because the next scene with Ferris is him saying goodbye to Sloane, and it's 5 minutes until 6 when he realizes he needs to bail.
He's gonna marry me.
No, Sloane, he's gonna go off to college and probably sleep with a bunch of girls, and you guys are gonna break up. God, I miss how delusional teen love can be. So in the end, even if the trio hauls ass, we cut some corners, make a few assumptions, and assuming no traffic, it still isn't enough to cut this down to a realistic time frame where Ferris leaves Sloane at 5:55 p.m. Sorry, Ferris, but Mr. Rooney would probably win.
I got you, Ferris.
Well, everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe and check back soon. And if you have time, feel free to check out my website, whirlwindreports.com.